Uh, Peacemaker season 2 was so disappointing for me personally. I know there are a lot of people out there that are enjoying it, but it did not really land for me, and it is sad and frustrating because I really loved season 1. I'm a huge fan of James Gunn's style of storytelling. I've seen almost all of his movies, shows, content that he's written and directed, and I was really looking forward to this season, especially learning more about the backstory of Peacemaker, where he didn't even want to cast John Cena in it. And I'm a fan of John Cena's acting, by the way, not just because I was a fan of him during wrestling days, but even now, every time I see him in movies, I really love his comic timing. I love the fact that even though he's like this big dude, he can show vulnerability, he can show acting chops, he can show he's really good with ad-lib. There's so many different things that he does that despite his persona and this WWE character that everyone instantly associates with him, I think he's actually a very talented guy. So and I guess James Gunn realized that with season 1, and with season 1 being so good with their characters, with the storyline, with aliens, with everything, he decided to make another season and tie in the DCU. But I don't know, it didn't land for me. I was actually hoping that it would, episode after episode. I kept watching it, I kept tuning in, and even last night when the finale aired, I thought maybe it will make all of the season kind of make sense, or maybe just make it worthwhile for me personally. But it didn't. I just and I so badly wanted it to, again, because I love how James Gunn has this tendency of making stories about characters that they're not really main character energy, but they're all like NPCs, and somehow he gives us this beautiful story about all these misfits coming together and finding family, finding that together they're better than the sum of their parts, and somehow they are better people despite the fact that the world and they themselves have for the longest time believed that they are bad people. And that is why Suicide Squad, when he did it, was pretty good. Peacemaker, really good. Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, all of the characters are misfits. And not only will he make you fall in love with animals like Groot, and trees like Groot, and animals like Rocket, and even inanimate objects, and even spoofy and weird CGI and aliens and all of these things. I feel like him personally, he does a really good job with CGI. Usually, I know there's been a lot of angst and debate and heartbreak regarding MCU and where it's going, but I feel like when James Gunn did it for MCU, he did it well, he did it differently, and I wouldn't mind seeing CGI when James Gunn did it, minus Superman. I think I'll talk about that later. But Peacemaker, I think the reason you don't mind it is because the way he tells the story, he makes you care about so many different things. It's an amalgamation of like I said, characters, their motives, their feelings. There's heart to it, there's emotion, there's levity, and that is the best part. There's so much not forced humor or comedy. It's just it's inside them, because they're such insecure characters and they've not really seen success in life, so they kind of compensate for it by being funny. And one of the things that you noticed in season 1, every single character was funny. Peacemaker himself was extremely funny, and he's John Cena, so of course he was funny. And the whole fact that he wasn't even going to cast John Cena in an as Peacemaker, but then he worked with him and then realized how funny he is. And I'm a fan of John Cena, not only because I've followed him in wrestling in WWE, but also because despite being this huge persona or huge character that everyone associates him with, he's everywhere, all on the memes. I think he's actually talented. He can pull off those serious dramatic moments. He can cry on demand. He can he can make you feel emotions, and he can make you laugh the very next second. I think the man is talented, and I think James Gunn found that out, and he wanted to do season 2, and he wanted to tie in the DCU. There were so many things riding on it, and that is what kind of made me scared about season 2. But I was still hoping James Gunn would be able to do it, because he did it in season 1. And like I said, in season 1, Vigilante was so funny. Economist was so funny. The entire, like, the team, you rooted for the team. The plot was there. The antagonist, another thing that James Gunn always does really well. You actually kind of understand where the antagonist is coming from or what they had to do. You don't necessarily agree with the things that they're doing or their actions, but you kind of see where it is, and you kind of understand, okay, you know what, this is very human, this is how it happens. And I understand. He, in my opinion, had done villains better than anyone else in comic book movies, and even in Peacemaker, you understand where the aliens were coming from. In this season, it's just like, I don't know if there was any story at all, honestly. I think like they had like some outline of a story, and every episode and through the entirety of the show, I had this like weird feeling where like I was like bored, and I was like, why is this still going on? But also at the same time, like, why are the episodes so short? Where's the story? Why aren't you spending enough time with these characters? Why aren't you spending enough time investing in this relationship? Why isn't the whole dynamic of, there are two like most important things that you're following in this series, or like in this season, because the group is broken up, and you're following how John Cena and Peacemaker and what's her name, Hardcore, fell in love. And honestly, again, I am a sucker for romantic movies and romantic angles. So again, I watch Bollywood and Pakistani dramas, so you don't even need to show me anything for chemistry or love. You don't even need the character for me personally. You don't even need to show me characters talking to each other or meeting each other or even touching each other or any of that. I will buy their chemistry if you do it well. And I think here it just felt rushed. And I know in the last episode there were like throwbacks and like a lot of these things were shoehorned in, but it didn't do anything for me. I didn't really root for their chemistry, and it felt like John Cena was like hell-bent on this one moment, this boat scene the entire time. I understand, honestly, like the good part of the show, and I know I feel like I'm just going on and on about everything that's bad, but the good thing is John Cena is still good, right? As Peacemaker, he still led me believe that that man is actually going through turmoil, and all his sad history, killing his brother, killing his dad, him going through what he's going through, all the mental health issues. And I love when men are being vulnerable in my shows. I know a lot of people don't agree with that. A lot of people like them to be hidden and be strong and pull through it, because that's what a lot of men actually do in real life. But I like that. I like that he is crying and he's sad and he's depressed. I understand all of that, but you just took away the entirety of his character. Just like, no, in my opinion, like, where is his personality? His personality existed in the movie and in the previous season. Here he's just gone. He's just like acting like this thing where, like, I understand he was just hoping for this one person's validation or one person's like acknowledgement of what happened, one particular moment that was important for him, which would like kind of reel him back into reality. I understand that, completely understand that part I get, but I feel like they abandoned the entirety of Peacemaker for one particular thing, and I think there was a better way to do it. And on top of that, his angle with his story with killing Rick Flag Jr., and then you brought in Rick Flag Senior. That is the whole plot line of season 2, and there is nothing of consequence entirely in the 8 episodes of the show. And I was like, what is happening? And honestly, Rick Flag Senior is so hard done by in this season, because honestly, him and Argus just come across incompetent. They're trying to get Peacemaker arrested, and he's not even like, he doesn't even know they exist and they're looking for him. And then somehow like they're trying to arrest him, and then somehow he just beats them for no reason because they're so incompetent. I hate when you make like antagonists or whatever it is, like Argus teams or armies or whatever, the opposing people, so incompetent just to lift up your protagonist, or just like just to, I don't know, just get by episodes, or push the story forward. It just makes it, the entirety of it, every episode I just went, oh god, man. That's how my reaction was, when I was watching it. Is, they get defeated by Eagly, and I understand, okay, Eagly's pretty cool, but taking out an entire Argus team and Rick Flag is not there. And then the whole scene where, Hardcore brings in Peacemaker and they get Peacemaker, it's like, okay, he's there, but why wasn't he there before when they were trying to get Peacemaker? It would have been much easier. And, with the whole thing about tracking, that, whatever, quantum interdimensional thing that he had in the box, and the backstory about it also felt very shoehorned in. And honestly, for me, like, if I had that complaint with Superman too. Like, I loved Superman, I loved the casting, I loved I liked the movie. I loved the Superman actor. I loved the character of Superman, and I loved Lois Lane in it, and I loved the first 30 minutes of the movie. But as soon as the movie went into like the pocket universe thing, and then the whole Ultraman reveal was very meh. It was you saw it a mile away, and Lex Luthor was really good. I understand Lex Luthor's intentions and everything and what he was saying at the end of the movie, but in the middle part of the movie, the whole CGI sequence, the pocket universe, the alien baby stuff, the movie lost me, and I was like, okay, I guess. I really wanted to love Superman. I really wanted to, but I just liked it, and I thought that the first 30-40 minutes of the movie, when it had me, it should have just stuck to that and stuck to like one storyline and just continued. Similarly, in this show, I feel like first of all, there was no storyline. I wish they focused more on, like the emotions, the loss of Rick Flag and how Rick Flag is going to get back to him. It's just like he was just non-existent for the majority of the show, and he was like, you go get him. And then the whole romantic angle with, Bordeaux, what was that? Like, the entirety of the season, you're like, you didn't even see anything, and then suddenly in the last episode, you're supposed to believe they're in a relationship and they're sleeping together, and then now she suddenly realizes he's doing something evil, and there's this like random scenes of him being like this mustache twirling villain, just laughing with the Lex Luthor people. Come on. And like, why are you working with Lex Luthor team? And I understand it's for Peacemaker, but it just didn't feel right. I feel like you could have gone in such a different direction where he has it in for Peacemaker, and it actually made it very emotional. There are a couple good things. Again, Adebayo was really good for me personally, and I think her and Peacemaker's relationship is really good. They broke up the whole team, and that is what was like, I missed the entire season. Peacemaker and Vigilante were really good together. Vigilante's barely there in the show. He's still the only good part of season 2 as well, and so is Adebayo, so is Peacemaker. I just didn't believe Peacemaker's relationship with Harcourt and Rick Flag Sr.'s hatred for Peacemaker was just shown in bits and pieces, and it wasn't really there, and that was supposed to be the main context of the show, of this season at least. And then the whole thing about this alternate universe, again, you saw it coming a mile away. There were Nazis and there were no black people, and it didn't really do anything for me personally, and I know it was like a big reveal for a lot of other people. Didn't really do much. And then you cut to the finale where like Rick is the new baddie again, and he's just laughing, ha 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 ha, and then Bordeaux is like, oh my god, I don't want to sleep with him again, he's an asshole. And then suddenly they just teamed up with Peacemaker, and they have a new place, and he's arrested, and now he's in this alternate dimension, and then Rick Flag is like, fuck you, this is for my son. And I'm like, what this could have been so much better, but anyways, I'm just frustrated, and I know it feels like I am shitting on it a lot, but I really love Peacemaker, and I really wanted the show to be good. I really wanted, James Gunn to go back to being great, because I know he can be. This is his forte, like he always strings that, I don't know, he always plays with your heartstrings or whatever. I'm kind of frustrated, I can't even talk. But anyways, I don't know what you guys thought about it. Please let me know if you guys enjoyed the show, didn't enjoy the show. What do you feel about the revelation, the alternate universe, or quantum, whatever. And I know there are a lot of comic book people who will tell me that, oh, this was done because of this was done because of that, and there's so many other reasons. And I understand that. I read a lot of comics, okay? I haven't read all of them, but I feel like a show on its own, a season on its own, should stand by itself and should be a good show regardless of comic books or whatnot. Everyone should be able to enjoy it, and I think that was the case in Peacemaker 1. There was a good storyline, there was so much good comedy. I didn't even laugh. How can you waste Tim? You have fucking Tim and all these new characters, and you got good actors, and they were just wasted in my opinion. Even the whole side angle about Eagly and trying to make him the alpha Eagly, I was like, okay. Anyways, didn't work for me personally, but you guys can let me know if it worked for you, what you guys think, and if you guys enjoyed the show. But that's about it from me. I'm ranting a lot, but let me know if you guys enjoyed it.